I don't want to wake up at 60, 70, 80 years old and think of what if. What if I would have chased my dream? What if I would have tried to charter? What if? What if? And that was really the defining moment for me. And I think you know me well enough, dude. I get something in my head, I'm going to do it.
Welcome to Bottled Up. Today we dive into the fascinating world of coastal charter fishing with Kyle Johnson, the dynamic captain, owner, and operator of Coastal Water Outfitters. From military service to pursuing his passion for fishing on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Kyle's journey is filled with insights, honest reflections, and expert pro fishing tips. Kyle will share his lifelong love of fishing, and he will give us a peek into the work and life of a professional fishing guide. He will share how following his passions and his dreams has enriched his life and the hundreds of people who have hired Kyle to experience a true Mississippi Coast fishing experience. So sit back, relax, and let's cast off with Captain Kyle Johnson on this exciting Bottled Up episode. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's always good to sit down and talk with you.
Absolutely, man. So today I kind of want to get into a little bit of your history of how you decided to open up and operate a inshore-offshore charter fishing business. And then I kind of want to get into, the ins and outs and kind of the science behind how depending upon the time of year, the temperature of the water, the way the wind's going, where to successfully take your clients out to fish and where to catch the type of fish and the amount of fish that you think you need to do to make them happy. Because I know that's kind of changes depending upon weather.
Absolutely, dude. I would love to touch on all of that. My name's Captain Kyle Johnson, born and raised here in Gulfport, Mississippi. Absolutely love the Mississippi coast. I was in the Army for a little while. I was a full-time National Guard here, the 1108th AvCrad. There's a lot of people listening here that will probably know that unit. It's got 400 people in the company. So there's always somebody you run into somewhere on the coast that knows somebody that either works or has worked at the AvCrad. It's pretty funny whenever you bring it up. But point being, I did a lot of traveling with that. We would go assist other units with fixing aircraft. That was my job. I was a 15 Foxtrot, an aircraft electrician. And I've been all over the United States, and I've been other places and stayed there for quite a bit and realized just how good we have it here. So I'm a huge fan of the Mississippi coast and a huge fan of people like you that highlight what goes on around here. I think it's a very underrated place and very overlooked place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Much to our benefit, honestly.
Yeah. And I'll touch on that a little bit later when we get more to the fishing side of things. But just a little background about me is I grew up here and always, just about everybody, your parents took you fishing at some point, just about fishing or hunting. That's just kind of the way of life here. And fishing has always been my outlet, especially I didn't realize it till I got a little older when you get the stresses of everyday life, just how good of an outlet it is. And I loved my career in the Army. I loved what I did. I liked some of the people I worked with. I didn't like some of the people I worked with. I'm just going to be honest. It's just part of it. But when I really decided that I was going to leave and leave my career, a lot of people think that I retired, and I did not. And for those of you who don't know, when you walk away from the military and you don't retire, you walk away with nothing. So 11 years. And I don't get any type of paycheck, any type of retirement. It was a very big risk for me to do what I wanted to do. But with great risk comes great reward. That also happens a lot in the fishing world and a lot of my everyday life now. It was the biggest risk I'd ever taken, but I will 100% do it again in a heartbeat any day of the week.
Well, Kyle, let me ask you a little bit about that decision that you made.
Sure.
I remember when you were still active in the National Guard. I followed. You had a social media page where when you were part-time doing this job, you had a social media page. Which, by the way, I want to commend you on the level of care and quality of your social media presence. And I know you do it all.
Yeah,
is fantastic.
Thanks, man.
It really is top notch. It's every time I watch your videos that you do, that you've started to do now, where like you basically take your followers through what's going on out, in your world and what baits are working, what's baits not working, who you went with last. I like the way that is going as well. But I think that the decision that you had to make walk me through exactly what made you say, you know what, listen, I'm gonna go all in on this. I'm gonna take that risk, like you said, and I'm gonna jump out there and do what makes me happy and follow my passion. Because a lot of people have that in the back of their head, but safety is kind of like something that we cling to, like, you know, like we're in a shipwreck. Like we got to, well, this is my job. You know, I know I'm gonna have an income here. I'm stable. Walk me through that decision.
Oh man, there's a lot of avenues to that. But I don't know if you knew this. I think you did know this. So I did a lot of writing for a while. I had some columns in some magazines.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, so I wrote for South Mississippi Living for Michael Sunderman, great guy. I love Michael. I did the outdoor section for a little while for him. I did some articles for Mississippi Sportsman, Louisiana Sportsman. I had a national column with Coastal Angler for a little while. And so when you're doing that, well, if you're a decent writer, I would say you're looking for a good story and you're looking for something different. Well, something I kept running into is hearing these people saying, you know, hey, you know, I chased my dream and did this. I heard that over and over again. And man, just to be honest with you, just kind of was getting a little jealous, you know, like, man, these dudes are, you know, they did it, you know, and it was
Yeah,
kind
it's
of,
possible.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it was like, man, I hate to say this because I don't want to come off the wrong way, but something you know about me and a lot of people knows that I'm very honest. And I would see these guys and I'd be like, okay, if this guy can do it, I can.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's just me being honest. So I saw that and was just like, one day I'm just kind of sitting around, and a reason that I quit a job that I loved a lot when I was younger. A lot of people don't know about this. I tell my clients this story all the time, but after Katrina, you know, Hurricane Katrina just destroyed this place. I was a carpenter on the Bay St. Louis Bridge. So I helped build the Bay St. Louis Bridge out there. We would build the pedestals that the girder sat on. That's what our crew did. And I was only 19 years old, and that was back in what, 2010, you know, right after, guys, it was 2009. But right after Katrina. And back then, our money went a lot longer than it does now,
Yep.
and it went a lot further. So I was making like $30 an hour at 19 years old, and it was hard work, but you know, you're bulletproof at 19. So I didn't care about the hard work, but I started looking around and looking at the guys that had been doing it forever, and was just like, I don't want to, that's not what I want to be when I'm that age. And that same revolution hit me in the Army. There was a few guys that were happy with their life and happy with the decision they made, but 90% of what I saw was guys that were just sticking it out for that retirement check.
Yeah, they were wait until that golden year.
Yep, they were just, you know, I've got so much invested, I might as well keep going. Hardly any of them love it anymore. You know, just and if they're honest, they'll tell you. You know, they'll say, "Hey, that's why I'm still in. It's not fighting for your freedom. It's not because I love it. It's because I've already got this much invested. I might as well see it through and get that retirement." So I had a revelation one day and was just kind of like, you know what? I don't want to be that guy in the next, you know, I had 11 years in. Realistically, I needed to do about 30 years for my retirement to be even worth it. So I
Lord.
still had another 20 years of that if I wanted to, you know, have a worthy paycheck at the end of the day. So I just said, you know what? I don't want to wake up at 60, 70, 80 years old and think of what if, you know, what if I would have chase my dream? What if I would have tried to charter? What if? And that was really the defining moment for me. And I think you know me well enough, dude. I get something in my head, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you are kind of one of those. You're, and that's one of the things I like about you the most is number one, the honesty portion. Everyone's gonna know where they stand with you because you can't hold it in.
Whether it's good or bad, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's refreshing and good to have that kind of barometer of a human around you where you can be like, man, this is messed up. Like everyone's standing there, and then you'll be the first one to say something, and then everybody's like, yeah, it really is, and then and then you know what I mean. So, but that and
Yeah.
the way that you kind of attack things that you want to do, you've always kind of been like that.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that, but yeah, it's a curse too, though, man. People will say they want to hear an honest opinion, and then when you tell them honest opinion, they get mad. So, it's one of those
It's only
things.
getting worse as the years go on, Kyle.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I know. But
But yeah, okay. So you make that decision, you weigh the pros and cons, and you say, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger on this. And you kind of already had your foot kind of dipped into it, correct?
yeah, so it's kind of funny how it all worked out, man. I say I'm lucky all the time. I've done a bunch of podcasts and told the story multiple times, and I always say I'm lucky. And every time somebody hears it, they say, "Well, it wasn't all just luck. You had to have kind of planned it out." I'm like, I did, but it really just kind of fell into place. So you've known me forever, and you've seen me on social media forever. Back 10, 15 years ago. I wasn't posting about fishing to try and get any type of monetary value out of it. There was no way for me to make money doing it. And then the writing thing, I just always loved writing and didn't know people would want to read what I had to write.
Yep.
And so, to that point, I made great money, as a full-time technician, especially for around here. So that extra $150 a month for writing an article wasn't really setting the world on fire. It
No, it
was.
was kind of like it's you're getting to do something you enjoy, and someone's throwing you some coin to do it.
Yeah. And I it kind of all made sense because everyone that was like, I didn't have any type of business page on Facebook. It was just a personal page and it did grow. Like I've had the max amount of friends on Facebook for years and years. And that just came with me posting my catches, hey, this is what we caught today. This is what we caught it on, things like that. And then people would message me and ask a bunch of questions. And I got kind of tired of saying the same things over and over again. So I started a little blog for a little while back in the day. And that's how the whole writing thing came about, as Michael Sunderman was reading the blog and he was like, dude, like, I would love for you to write some articles for me. And I was like, absolutely. So, that opened some doors. And then I had the social media thing. And I think the point I'm trying to get across is that it was all genuine and it wasn't me there wasn't a grand master plan for me to be a guide. I can promise you that came about a year before my last contract was up in the Army. That was a spur of the moment thing. And I said, screw it. I'm going to try it. Everything before that, I was just posting just to share what I loved. Fishing is my outlet. And that's how everything was built, was on me, just sharing my knowledge, things that I learned and sharing what I love to do and what I love about fishing. And it was pure and it was genuine. And it still is. Like you just said,
I know.
it would be so easy for me to come in from a day of fishing and not take any pictures or videos while we're out there and come in and look. I'm not saying this to talk down on other captains, but I'm just being honest here. It would be so much easier for me to just come in, put a bunch of dead fish on a table, take a picture of you standing next to it, halfway smiling because you caught those fish a couple hours ago. And then I can just post it up on social media and say, had a great day, or these people did great. But I don't, dude. I put a lot more into it. I take pictures and videos while we're out there. I preach conservation, those values on people, the importance of it. I teach people why, the how, when, and where of what we're doing in that moment. And I share those in those posts. I always explain something about what we did or what we learned. And people, they've liked it. They've reacted that way, the way that they have for it. And it's worked out very well for me.
So you make this decision, you decide to go and go full time being a captain. Okay. So what was your first trip that you did with some clients where you're like, all right, I think I got this. I think I got this under control. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
what was
that's
that?
easy. This is a great story. I had decided I was going to do it, and I told a bunch of guys I worked with, and you do have that. Doesn't matter what branch of military, and there's this brand of brotherhood, because when you all go through something that really, really sucks, it brings you close to people you would never really give a chance with. It just. That's the brotherhood in the military that civilians don't understand, is that the reason we are like a family is because we went through stuff that really, really sucked. and, and,
Yep.
and, and you create this bond. So I had my buddies, and Sean Williams, And he works for Blue Origin now. He ended up getting out of the military as well. He works for Blue Origin, working on rockets for Jeff Bezos. Super, super smart guy. Had so much potential and was really being held back being in the military where he was. He now has an engineering degree, works on rockets,
That's
just
awesome.
amazing. So I haven't talked to him in a while, I'll be honest, but I'm hoping that my story kind of encouraged him to chase his dream. It might have, it might not. I don't know. But anyways, I'd said that I was going to do it. And me and Sean, he was a mechanic. I was an aircraft electrician, and we worked hand in hand a lot. And he had been fishing with me a couple of times. And he said, dude, I want to be your first client. And I was like, really? And he was like, I want to be the first person to pay you that you take fishing. And I'm going to take my family. I'm going to take my wife and my kids. And I want to be the first one. And I said, man, that means a lot. It really hit home with me. And I was like, dude, I said, all right, we got a date down. And his wife and his kids hadn't been on, I don't think his kids had been on a boat yet. And one of the kids was really scared because he didn't know that they were going to go on a boat. They were surprising them. So
Oh
my first
God.
interaction with clients was like, I walk over there and I talk with the kid. I'm like, look, man, we're going to have a good time, buddy. I promise you nothing's going to happen, this and that. Don't worry about the boat. Calmed him down. And, he was glued to his mom half the time until he got comfortable moving around the boat. But man, we go out and we had a great day. We caught all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different species. We went to Ship Island and the kids got out and played on Ship Island and collected some shells and, all this stuff. And we get back and Sean comes to pay me and he's like, he gives me all the money in cash. And he goes, I got something else for you. And he was like, this is really why I wanted to be your first client. And he walks up to his truck, comes out. It's a plaque with a dollar bill in it. And he said, I wanted to give this to you because I know that you're going to go far with this. And he said, I want you to hang on to this. And this is the first dollar you ever made fishing. And man, that meant a lot to me.
Well, do
And it
you
still
still
does.
have that? Do you still have that hanging up somewhere?
You bet your butt I'm looking at it right now. Try not to tear up.
Dude, what a good dude to make it to where, listen, this is going to be more than just like a stranger coming on where like you kind of have to work through
Mhm.
because your job's very interesting because not only are you teaching people and taking people where to fish, but you have to be really hands-on and personable with strangers, right?
Yep.
Like you gotta be real quick to make them comfortable with you and you increase the comfort level with them. And that's a skill in itself. But I mean, for someone who knows you to make it to where like, man, this is going to be special for both of us. That's awesome.
It meant a lot to me, and it definitely still does. And it was a great thing for him to do. And I sit back and I look at things a lot, and I try to analyze a lot of things. Kind of a curse of mine, but I really realized that was a type of people that I was attracting. And I also realized that, with social media, it's such a powerful tool. What you post, you can attract your own clients. And that's
Yeah,
where I think that a lot of, businesses and charter captains mess up is that, if you keep posting tables full of dead fish, which sure, go ahead, it doesn't bother me. But when you keep posting tables of dead fish, guess what kind of people you're attracting? That's what they expect every time. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter how good you are. And those guys that are posting that, I can 100% promise you they have a bunch of days where they don't do that. And you imagine that client that gets on that boat that's expecting that table full of dead fish and you don't deliver it, they're not happy. They might not come back
that's
because
right.
that's all they've known. But you look at mine, you look at my people, and they're expecting an experience. And I can guarantee you an amazing experience. I cannot guarantee you that we're going to destroy the fish every time. I will say, and I'm pretty proud of this, I've never had a trip where we didn't come back. Our trips are not judged on what we come back with, but I've never had a trip where we didn't catch something that we were looking for. Now there might have been times that, a certain chandelier trip comes to mind where these guys have been to Chandelier a couple times and never really did good. And they had been on some other trips and they were like, man, we've been following you. We see you got it dialed in. And I guess those guys are just cursed because the day before we absolutely destroyed them. And the next day, and that's the thing about Chandelier, man, it's a crazy place. But we go out there the next day And dude, we're about 6, 7 hours in and we hadn't caught a single trout. And I'm stressing and I'm like, we got to make this happen. Well, turns out the only fish we caught that day was a 4.5 pound trout, which was the guy's biggest trout ever. So
That's a big
that,
trout.
that made it worth it. But dude, that was the only trout we caught all day. So I've had a lot of close calls, but that's another thing about me, man, is I'm not, if we're in that certain time where, you book a 6 hour trip with me and we've been out like 5 hours and we hadn't got it done, I'll tell them, I'll say, look, I hope you ain't got nothing to do for the rest of the day because we ain't going in until we accomplish the mission. And there's not been one person that's been like, no, we got to get back. They're
Yeah,
like,
right. The guys, who's going to be that first guy? Be like, you know what? I kind of got some things I got to do
yeah.
after this
Well,
trip.
that's another thing, man. I brief my people on everything way before the trip ever starts. Hey, look, I only run one trip a day. Whether you book a 6 hour, or 8 hour, or a shandy or a snapper trip with me, that's the only thing I got going on that day. So we might not start till 9 or 10 o'clock, or we might not start till noon or whatever. We might start at daylight. And if things aren't happening, guess what? I got you all day. We're gonna
Yeah,
make it
where
happen.
you gonna go, man?
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, out of all these trips that you do, and I know you do, deep sea snapper. I know you do wade fishing. I know you do grass bed fishing. I know you do, rigs. You catch all the main sport fish out there. What's your favorite thing to catch?
Well, you should know that. A speckled trout.
Speckled trout, man. Yeah. Speckled. I grew up going out to Chandelier too. We would do like Monkey Bio and then we would do Redfish Point. I hadn't been out there in a minute, but this is before all of the big, multi-day.
Motherships. Yeah.
Yep, all those are out there. This was when you'd have like 3 or 4 boats out there, and you could. I mean, I remember we used to just destroy trout.
Hmm.
What has changed out at Chandelier in that time? Is it hard? Is it harder to find what you're looking for, or have you seen since Katrina? Because I know since Katrina, they basically would only allow you to go out at certain times. What have you seen that's changed since then?
So, I didn't really start fishing chandelier hard until about 2019. That was the first time I ever been out there. A lot of
Okay.
people assume that like you and a lot of other people that I've been going out there. Not you assume, but like how you've been fishing out there since you were a
Oh
kid.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of people assume that, and that's not the case at all. I didn't start till 2019, and really it was Joey Furlan. He owns Furlan's Marine. That's who I buy my boats from. And God, what an amazing guy! What an amazing story too, man. You might want to talk to him one day. He
I
is
gotta
such
go. I gotta go see him. By the way.
yeah, such a good storyteller and such a great guy. Very knowledgeable, and anything he gets involved in, he just goes head first like I do. So he's the one who he contacted me about getting in that 28-foot blue wave and opening the doors and all that stuff. And him and my dad, believe it or not, are the ones that taught me to start running those boats. I really kind of didn't want to at first just because I already had a boat that I was familiar with and liked and it did the job. But and of course that boat note is pretty high. So I was kind of scared of that. But him and my dad talked me into that. And Joey just kind of gave me the lay of the land out there
Okay.
because and what the best thing he taught me, which I kind of already assumed this, but hearing it come from him was great. He said, "Man, it doesn't matter if I take you to spots where we have absolutely railed the trout." He said, "It changes every year out here. It changes every month. It changes every day. It changes every week." So that's something that I've seen. Dude, I've got waypoints on my boat where I know how to get in and out of places. Like I can run on a plane, go over these real shallow sandbars, and then there's a gully up close and I can come off a plane there. That changes every
Jesus.
month, dude. And I've seen whole islands shift and move. Like you'll have an island marked on the south end and you'll have a cut in between the islands. And, that's the water from the Gulf of Mexico is coming into the Chandelier Sound on a rising tide. And we like to fish those late in the summer. And those entire islands will shift hundreds of yards, north,
God,
south.
I was gonna ask you how far. Hundreds of
Oh
yards.
yeah, dude. Freemason Island, very popular spot, which I really don't fish that much just because
Caught
it
my
is such a
first trout there when I was a kid.
yeah. So that I'm gonna tell you right now, where you caught your trout at there, if you had a waypoint of that, it's probably a half a mile from where it was. That Freemason has moved. The entire island has moved that much. I mean,
I
it's
I remember when we were kids, they used to have, okay, you know how the tides, you were talking about the tides on Freemason, it's all shells, right? So
yep.
they would have those little tiny tidal pools that were basically in the center of the shell island. So we would catch the trout and throw them in there.
Yep, yep. They still pop up like that. You would, man, you'll be depressed if you go out there now. How small it is. It's so skinny. It's so small. It's two islands now. There's a cut in the middle of it, and it's really cool though, because it makes this huge flat, and there's this big flat you can walk out on the north side of it now, and it's
Wade
just
fish it.
redfish city. Yeah, it's just redfish everywhere, but also tons and tons of sharks. But
Fantastic. Well, Kyle, walk me through a day in the life of someone who owns and operates a charter fishing business. I know that it's not just going out catching fish. I mean, the level that you do with the social media and making sure people feel like they're on the trip with you and you give them an honest rundown. That's fantastic. But walk me through what it takes to actually do what you do.
yeah, so it's a lot more than people think. I hear all the time, you have the dream job, you take people fishing for a living and this and that. And it's kind of like, and I hear that a lot when I'm out on the boat. And I this is one of the very few times that I do kind of do the little white lies. I'm like, yeah, man, it's easy, because it's really not. There's a lot to it. I'm a big fan of technology, and I keep up with new things, and I've used that to my advantage. So ever since I started, I pay a lot of money for my website, but somebody can go on my website, learn everything they need to learn about the trip, the prices, how the trips are structured, things of that nature. There's a live calendar on there. You can pick the day you want. You can pick the start time, but I'm probably going to change it.
Oh, that
But
website is fishcoastalwaters.com, by the way.
yeah, fishcoastalwaters.com. And the beauty of that is when somebody books a trip, it automatically sends me an email, and it automatically sends me a notification through the scheduling app, and it's linked to my calendar on my phone. So it automatically populates that day on my
That's
phone.
perfect.
And so I have some intake questions on there, like what are you looking to catch? How many people? And, is there anybody under the age of 13? So I know I got to bring, different gear and different size life
Life
jackets and
vests. Yep.
things. So I can look at those and see. So like, I'll give you an example. So like today, I'm technically supposed to be off, but I'm doing this. I'm doing, I'm doing I'm doing another webinar tonight at 7 p.m. for the Speckled Truth. I got to host that. That's all about speckled trout. That's going to be from 7 to 8. Tonight, when I get done with that, I'm going to look at my calendar. I'm going to see what I got for the week. And when I get done, hopefully I'll get done with that webinar about 8. I'll get done with that. I'll go out to the truck. I'll load up all the gear that I need for tomorrow, the rods, the reels, the baits, all that stuff. And then tomorrow I'll be down at the boat at about 6:30, and I'll go to the bait shop. And if I have I think I got an inshore trip tomorrow. Let's just say I do. I got an inshore trip tomorrow. I'm gonna go to the bait shop and I'm gonna get some live shrimp, and I'm gonna go down the boat, the live shrimp and ice. Go on the boat, load it up, get everything on the boat, go through all my rods and reels, make sure all my leaders good, all my lines are good. We don't want any mistakes out there. Get everything loaded. My people are going to show up around 7. Actually, Adam Box is coming tomorrow.
Oh my
his
God.
his father-in-law, Blaine. What a great guy. He's so cool. Him and his father-in-law and another guy. They've already been with before.
Adam has gotten more hilarious as the years have moved on and he's had to work and spend more close time with his older brother, who I'm
Oh
good.
my God.
He's gotten so funny.
Yeah, those two
Oh
are
yeah,
right.
Austin, one of my favorite humans on the planet. But okay, so you got a real hard nosed trip tomorrow.
Yep. So they'll get to the boat about 7. We'll get out there. We'll fish all day. We'll fish for about 6 hours. Come back, and my trips, man. This is where I kind of differ a little bit too. And saying these things a lot kind of makes a lot of other charter captains mad, but I really don't care because I'm worried about me and I'm worried about my business. When you book a trip with me, unless you kind of tell me you want, which that does happen. Sometimes people have things scheduled. They have a dinner they got to go to, they have a lunch, whatever. We're gonna fish for 6 hours. Some other charter companies, a 6 hour trip, they're done cleaning fish at 6 hour mark. So
Right.
if you got an hour of fish to clean and you got a 30-minute boat ride, then you're coming back way before that 6 hour mark. So we're gonna fish for a whole 6 hours. I know these two. They're gonna keep me out there, which is fine. And their passion, bleeds into me. So it'll get me going too. But we'll probably come back to the dock around one or so, and then all goes right. I'll probably be cleaning fish for at least an hour. I'll be cleaning fish for about an hour. They'll leave. I'll have to clean up the cleaning table at Gulfport Harbor. You have to discard the carcasses. You can't just throw them in the water. So I got to put them all in this big old tote I got.
Oh,
Got
that's
to
a
bring that over the truck, put that in the bed of the truck. Then I got to go over and I got to wash the boat. I got a 28-foot boat and I wash it by myself. And I'm a neat freak when it comes to that because it's a very expensive boat. So I want to keep it looking brand new. So it takes me about an hour to wash the boat,
So
45
what
minutes to an
time what
hour.
time is this after you're washing the boat, after you're done washing the boat?
So get done washing the boat. Usually I've got it down to where when I come in, I'm hopefully headed home at about 2 hours after we got in. So hopefully I'll be headed home around 3. That's
Okay.
kind of the plan. I'll be headed home. And then once I get home, I got to look at my calendar again, see what I got for the next day, get everything ready for that. If that's a totally different trip, then I've got to, unload all that gear and load up different gear. And that could take, no telling
How
how long.
how much of selection of gear? Because I know this probably has to do a lot with military background as well. Because I've talked to a lot of military guys, and they're especially if you're in a fighting force and that kind of thing. Gear is something that they like to discuss. And what's your loadout going to be? What are you going to carry? How much of selecting the gear for the fishing trip is part of the enjoyment for you?
I like it because I'm very technical, and thankfully with that boat I have tons of room to bring tons of gear. So I have setups for like specific scenarios, and I have a lot of gear, man. I've been involved with a lot of companies over the years. I'm sponsored by a lot of companies, and I get things at a good price, if not free. But they value my feedback. They say, "Hey, is this working out for you?" I'm like, "Absolutely. This reel's a tank." Or I'm like, "You can go back to the drawing board. This thing sucks." So,
There comes
but
that honesty again.
yeah, so I've got certain setups. So like tomorrow, I'm gonna bring, I've got my setups for sheephead and my setup for sheephead, redfish, and black drum. It's a 7 foot medium heavy with a 3,500 size reel with 30-pound braid. That's gonna stop anything. I set my drags tight because I don't like to get broke off. And 30-pound braid and 20-pound leader, you're gonna take something with sharp teeth or some structure to break it off. Well, if you have the drags locked down, then they can't really get back down that structure. So I'm gonna bring that, and then I'm gonna bring for my casting rods, for casting popping corks and stuff like that, and lures for trout and redfish on the flats, because we're probably going to stop at the flats and look for that. Maybe look for some pompano as well. That's a 7 foot medium with a 2,500 size reel with 20-pound braid. So there's a huge difference, and I could show you like in person
Yeah.
the casting difference between that redfish. We'll say the redfish rod and the trout rod. The casting distance is like 30, 40 yards.
Yeah.
So I have very specific things for specific fish, and then we'll bring that. And I might bring two bigger rods. I've seen some bigger stuff coming in. We might see our fish a school of big bull reds. It's very, very early for that, but I've been seeing some birds diving in some certain areas that they shouldn't be diving. So I definitely want to go investigate that tomorrow with this crew. They won't mind going investigate.
No, no, you're not going to have any issues with any complaints about hunting stuff down tomorrow, man. Well, so it's a lot of preparation, to do it correctly. And then on top of all that, you're doing your social media posts and keeping that machine fed. And then your website, like you said, by the way, money well spent as far as the booking process is concerned, because I mean, can you imagine having to go and populate all that yourself?
Oh, I would not be able to.
You know what I mean?
I wanted to jump on this real quick too, because this is the part that people don't see, that people don't think about or understand, is that not only is there all that's what I call the physical side of the business. That's all the like physical labor, all of that. So then, when you get to a point to where you're busy and you're booking a lot of trips, like right now, I've only got like 2 days open for April, 3 or 4 days open for May, and 5 or 6 days open for June. So a lot of it's, already booked up well in advance. But dude, when I get off the water, I'm not kidding you. I've got 10, 15 messages, one or two emails, 4 or 5 phone calls. And you got to think I've got to get all that in some at some point, like when I get home, I want to spend time with my family,
Yeah.
but also, if you don't call that guy back and you don't, sit down and have a conversation with him, which, I mean, we're probably
Yes.
running over time right now because I talk so much. I'm be on the phone for 30 minutes with somebody talking about a trip. So you got to think I've got 5 of those phone calls to make when I get
Yeah,
in.
man, you basically have a day's worth of whatever everybody else is handling throughout the day. You have that compressed down into like 3 hours.
Yeah, and they, a lot of these people, it sucks, and I'm trying to figure out a way to navigate through it. But I have to have these phone calls, late in the evening, 7 to 9 o'clock, and then, that's kind of been my cutoff because I'm gonna be up at 9 no matter what. But I've got people messaging and calling me, 9, 10 o'clock, and it kind of aggravates me. But I think back to that's me. If I
Yeah.
was gonna be trying to contact somebody about something, I don't have till 9 or 10 o'clock to do so, so I get it. I really do. But, and then, those people end up being phenomenal clients. I'm kind of mad that he called me at 9 or 10 o'clock, but then he gets on the boat and we have an amazing time and we're similar, and he becomes a regular. And I'm like, what if I wouldn't have called that guy back? What if I wouldn't have had that conversation? I would have missed out on a repeat client that's going to come with me 4 or 5 times a year. And I actually enjoy having them on the boat.
Kyle, what's the client that you've had that's come from the farthest place away?
That was 2 years ago, and the client that booked the trip lives in California, and he's I don't know, he might be a director now, but he's in the movie industry,
Got it.
and he flew his family in from, I think it was New Zealand. Yeah, New Zealand. It was New Zealand, and I think that's the furthest so far. I haven't had anything super crazy just because, like I said, I kind of advertise and try to attract a certain group of people. And, there's a lot of crazy fishing from here to across the pond. So I'm more looking for people that are a little closer, and I'm looking for people, and what has worked well for me. And you follow me on social media, so you see it. I'm always saying, these repeat clients, these people came back. That's what majority of my business is. So I don't really try to target anybody, overseas, because I don't think they're going to come back 2, 3 times a year.
No, I think that you've dialed in on who your client base is, and it's about the quality of the experience to get the repeat customers. So not only is the rapport there with you, but it makes a better day of fishing because there's kind of a level of trust, right?
Yeah, and you get to develop, you develop that friendship. And, I got people, they bring me all kinds of cool stuff, and I give them, lures and things like that. But I get Christmas cards, tons of Christmas cards
That's
from
cool.
clients. I get, deer meat, crazy stuff from, Axis deer, Neil guy from Texas. I get all kinds of moonshine from all over the Southeast. That is like one of my favorite things, dude. I have a refrigerator full of some of the best moonshine you've ever freaking had. So that's really cool, man. But what's really cool is that, when people come and the type of people I attract people that are kind of similar to me, I guess, because a lot of my clients, I don't want them to do anything they don't have to do, right? But they're kind of like me, where they want to help, like, hey man, you want me to go ahead and rinse down the boat while you're cleaning those fish. And I'm like, no, dude, I don't want you to do it. And then they're like, well, I want to do it. And you're going to make me mad if you don't let me do it. Like they're joking, but they're like, I want to help. Like
That
it'd
sounds
be,
like someone else I know,
nah,
honestly.
I know, right? And so that's cool, man. It's cool to have those people when they, you get in a rhythm when they come with you more than once. It's like they know where everything is on the boat. They know what they're supposed to do. Like when they reel a fish in and I net it, they know to go ahead and open the bail. They don't have it reeled down all the way to the hook and the rod tip all in the boat. And I explain everything to that on people their first trip. I'm like, hey, look, when I net it, go ahead and open the bail because I'm gonna lift it up. I'm gonna bring it to the front of the boat. And just hold that rod tip on the outside of the boat. If you have that rod tip inside the boat, it's gonna get broke. That's how you lay a rod tip down on the ground. Somebody's gonna step on it. It's gonna break.
Done.
You don't put a rod tip in a. You don't put a rod in a rod holder. You're gonna lay it on the gunnel. It's gonna fall in the water, and that's a $400 mistake on your part.
Yep.
So you get those repeats and you build that relationship. That, to be honest, dude, that's my favorite part of it is that
It's
that
people,
that
man.
relationship and you become part of their family memories. Their kids coming with you every year. I'm watching kids grow up. You know what I mean?
It's the people. It's kind of the same thing with my business. Like I know that I sell a commodity and like I'm selling beverages to people, but it's when I get to have those meetings and those face-to-face interactions and I get to hear about how well their business is doing and I get to, be a little bit of a part of that and help them out, whether it be advertising or whatever, but it's the people that make it fun. And I think that's kind of the way the world works in my opinion is like it's the people that make the world great.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's like you'll see in my post all the time, and I kind of changing it up a little bit this year. That's a whole rabbit hole I don't want to go down, but I'm giving away a little more information than I used to, and I'm also those videos you were talking about where
Yeah, about what bait's working, what bait started to work. The people that you're bringing deciding to use this bait, and then everybody switches. And
yeah.
I haven't done a lot of. I've been kind of out of the game, the fishing game, for a minute since I had kids, and I hadn't been out to Chandelier in a while. But just seeing the different types of baits that are different than what I grew up with is very interesting to me, man.
Well, you know what? The stuff you grew up with, they're still hitting that too. So that's the cool thing about the trout, and that's why I love trout so much. It's such a technical fish that there you see these little very subtle changes, dude. We've had days where if you were throwing 25-pound leader because the Spanish and bluefish were so bad they were ripping your baits off every time. And if you were throwing that 25-pound leader and you weren't throwing 20-pound leader, you wouldn't catch a trout. I mean, there have been
Crazy.
days that they've been that specific, and it's really cool and it's really rewarding when you figure that out. And I love it, absolutely love it when my clients figure it out before I do, because then I get it. I'm supposed to be the one telling you what to do, how to do it, this and that. But they're so in tune with it that, I'm giving them, what I would be doing. And I am. I'm fishing with them at Chandelier. We're all in the water. It's all wade fishing, artificial lures only. And we're trying different stuff. And we're constantly communicating. Hey, man, what are you throwing? What color you got on? So before I change baits, I don't want to be throwing the same thing he's throwing. And I don't, I have one guy on top water, one guy on suspending bait, one guy on soft bait. We're trying to dial it in. We're trying to figure it out. And then you get, that one client that's like, he taught 3 or 4 in a row. He's like, all right, they want white. They want white. I'm throwing an 1/8 ounce jig head. This is what they want. We all put on white. We start slamming them. And then
That's
when,
great,
when
man.
that happens, I go ahead, I put my rod up, I put it in between my shoulder. I pull out my phone. I start getting all the pictures and videos. You know how much I want to be doing that, sitting there just doing what they're doing. Like it kills me a little bit, but they're paying me great money. And how awesome is it when you come back from a trip and instead of just having that one picture of your group at the dock, you've got anywhere from 100 to 200 pictures and videos to look back on,
I
because
know.
that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm giving you is that, and they love it. They send it to their wives, their friends. It's great content for me. I make reels out of it, all that stuff. And it's so cool when they figure it out though. That's what I love. And I always tell them, bring whatever you're confident in, because you might throw something that I don't throw, and it might be what they want that day. So please bring whatever you're confident in.
Well, Kyle, I know that you've said that you've kind of booked up all the way through June, but if someone was interested in doing a charter trip with you, whether it be, a 6 hour or 8 hour chandelier, wade fishing, whatever that may be, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So definitely my website, fishcoastalwaters.com. There's a book now option. You can look at the days that I have open, the prices. My phone number's on there, my email's on there. Best way is to call me or text me. And if I do not answer, please leave a message or text me, because there's a good chance that I'm out of cell service. I will not even see a missed call. When you're out of cell service, you don't get missed calls. So definitely leave a message or send a text message. And I do absolutely everything. I do inshore, near shore. We do snapper, cobia, triple tail. We do bay trips during the winter. We do it year round. I do big corporate trips. I do a trip every year, bank out of Texas. I host 70 guests. I put all the groups together. I organize everything, get all the boats together, multi-boat trips. We literally do every style of fishing that you can do here. So anything anybody's interested in, I would love to have a shot at taking you out there.
Well, Kyle, listen, man, we could do a 3 hour.
I told you it would be more than an hour.
I know, man. I knew what we were. You and I've have had conversations that have lasted a long time. So I know, and I appreciate your time. I know, you're giving us some of your time today on your day off when you need to be with your family and that kind of thing. So, I appreciate you getting on and kind of giving us a little bit of the insight of a local fishing captain down here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And if anybody wants to have an experience, I highly recommend you call Kyle and get out there, man, because like he says, he's about the quality of the trip and the memories. So you'll be a repeat customer for sure.
Yeah, man. Are you not going to ask me what my favorite Pepsi product is? I was kind of like waiting for this the
Well,
whole time.
I don't, if this isn't about me, Kyle, but since you brought it up, what is it? What's your favorite Pepsi brand?
Wild cherry, dude. I am a Pepsi wild cherry fanatic, just so you know.
Okay, well, I know where you live, so they got some new LTO flavors coming out this summer of Pepsi that you might want to try. So be on the
Awesome.
lookout, man. Pepsi Lime and Pepsi Peach.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a limited time for a reason, but you got to try it and see if people like it. But Kyle, listen, man, once again, always a pleasure to talk to you. We didn't get into any of your conservation efforts or the charity or anything like that, but we'll have another round to talk about that. So I appreciate it and always be in touch, man.
Hey, man, thank you. And thanks for doing this, and not just this interview, but this whole podcast, man. I really enjoy it. I listen to all of them. I don't know if I told you that, but I
No,
do
I didn't
listen
know
to
that.
all of them. And I really enjoy when people like you that are from the coast really highlight the coast, because we do have something really cool here. Lots of really awesome people and awesome stories. And I really appreciate you doing this. And I hope you stick
Thanks,
with it for
Kyle.
a long time.
Oh yeah, man, it's fun. It's a lot of fun having conversations with folks and finding out things that you didn't really think that you would find out. So I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thanks, man.
What a great conversation with Captain Kyle Johnson. All of us could learn from his journey from the military to becoming a successful charter fishing business owner. From the challenges he faced to the rewarding relationships he built with his clients, Kyle's passion for fishing and dedication to providing unforgettable experiences shines through. Kyle is truly one of the characters that highlights the heart, beauty, and uniqueness of our coastal community. If you're looking for an expert fishing guide to take you on an angler adventure along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, make sure to contact Kyle at Coastal Water Outfitters. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Bottled Up, where we put you on the stories behind the people, places, and treasures that make up our amazing coastal community. Thanks so much for listening, and remember, always to support our local businesses, restaurants, attractions, and artists. Cheers. Thanks for listening to the Bottled Up Podcast. Want us to deliver this show to your email inbox as they drop? Want to tell us about how you like the show? Or do you want to tell us about a Gulf Coast business or restaurant that you'd like for us to spotlight in any upcoming episodes? Email Morgan Wheeler at mwheeler, MWHEELER at abevinc.com. That's ABEVINC.com. Want to know more about Allen Beverages and how we work with our clients, partners, and vendors? Check out allenbeverages.com. This show was edited and produced by Johnny Gwynn and Deep Fried Studios.